I nearly went to say good morning, but it's good afternoon to everybody because my guest today is in Sweden, so she's on my side of the world, and I'm here in London, and um, Rozanna Attia is in Sweden, and it's cold, it's freezing, it's snowing. We haven't got snow in London yet. I know we've got lots of snow in Scotland, and that's always the case. London is pretty cold, but not that cold as Sweden. But my guest today, as I said, is Rozanna Attia, and she's in Sweden, and she's a quantum identity coach. So, and she's going to talk more about that because I am doing this series of interviews on NDEs, near-death experiences, because life is not the end, and we're all so scared about dying and hanging on. And sometimes it's like the quality of life is not worth hanging on to, but because we feel death is the end, but it's not. We are spiritual beings with a physical body having a human experience, and therefore we're energy. And quantum tells us that once we are created, we are energy. We never die, we just change form. And in some cases, we go and come back, and the galaxy's full of us. But let's have a talk and explore this. And it's really to say to people, don't be scared of transcending because you've done it time and time again. So that's enough for me. So we're going to speak to Rozanna, who's got her spin on death is not the end. So Rozanna in Sweden, very cold. I'm sorry.
Well, it's pretty cold.
Oh dear. And today you're going to give us and speak to us about what you do and your perspective on death. And I think it's a wonderful subject, and we need to talk about it more. Many people are afraid to talk about it, but it's something that every one of us has to experience and witness, because people are transcending all the time, coming in and going out, birth, death, life. So right. Rozanna, tell us more about your perspective on this. Death is not the end.
Right. So I work with women to help them manifest their desires. And my approach to manifestation is not being high vibe, because it's about a long-term transformation rather than the day-to-day changes that happen internally. The day-to-day changes that happen to our mood does not necessarily dictate where we're going next. It's the overall transformation of who you are being that you allow yourself to experience a specific reality. So as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, your personality creates your personal reality. Who you are embodying, the woman you're living as, the identity you live from, is the experiences that things get pushed out from. And when I work with women on this piece, let's say you want to shift your reality when it comes to your business, you want to create your dream brand, you want it to be a big brand, you want to be speak on stages, you want to have a bigger following. What it really takes is being able to hold that kind of transformation, that kind of success. So we look at all of the things that are preventing them from having that experience, that external experience, such as visibility fears, such as the responsibility that comes with more money, such as the fear of getting canceled for speaking your truth online. And when we work on all of that, that can trigger and bring up a lot of old patterns, a lot of old beliefs, things that we have suppressed, things we've never looked at, things that we maybe have worked on before, but now we're looking at it at a deeper level. And the more you go within, the more you uncover all these past versions of yourselves and the parts of you that have been subconsciously at play, dictating your reality, dictating how you move, how you speak, the kind of things that you call in and attract, right? So when we are doing this deep inner work, my clients and myself have had the experience of it almost feels like an ego death. It almost feels like a soul rupturing rebirth, where we're physically alive, but it feels like we're grieving a part of us. It feels like we're losing a part of us. And it's because we've been so familiar with a specific identity, with specific patterns that have been so safe for the body, so safe for the nervous system, now that it has lived it for so long, that doing anything new, a new experience within, a new experience without, seems like a threat to the nervous system because it's unfamiliar. And so when we start to let go of these limiting stories, personas, self-protective identities that do not serve our next level of life and business, that's when all of these triggers come to the surface. And it's almost like you have to get to know who you are outside of all of these past experiences. So it can feel like you've never truly met who you are before you were told who you are by trauma, by society, by life, by family. And refinding that part of you, it's actually about unlearning all the things that you were told. The way
Okay,
you were, for example. Yeah.
let me stop you here, because I heard you say a few moments ago in your talk that they're past life traumas
No. So they're past experiences
or
in
past
this.
experiences. Now, are you saying past experiences within this lifetime,
Yeah.
or things that they have may have brought in from previous
Within
lifetimes?
this lifetime. Within this lifetime. So we know from ages 0 to 7, that's when the child is the most impressionable, and all the experiences, the things we see, hear, and all the trauma that children go through, or not just trauma, even hearing how parents talk about money, all of that creates that imprint on your subconscious and creates specific beliefs and patterns, and that begins to shape and form your personality and your views on life. And you start to carry as well the habits, even the emotional reactions of your caretakers, right? And it can also be influenced by the environment they grow up in, culture, society, and so on. So that's what I mean by the past versions of yourself.
Okay, so it's actually things that you've created, not that we've created, but things we've taken on,
Yeah.
experience as a child, and we've grown up with, that's created the person we are as a adolescence and a young adult. And those things from those early years have a very strong definition on how we live our life. And so therefore you're saying, therefore you then have to work, because we then want to experience a certain type of life, but something is stopping us from doing that. That happened earlier on in our lifetime as a child, adolescence, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we see this very commonly where you're almost doing everything right, like all the business strategy, all the posting and being consistent and showing up every single day. Yet the needle is not moving. You can do the strategy that somebody else did and everybody and 5 other people did that got them 10K. And you can do the exact same strategy and not even reach 3K. And that is because there's this part of us that is self-protecting, that maybe feels like, oh, more money means more taxes, more money means more responsibility, and I can't handle that. That fear of doing something wrong, or the fear of being too seen in the spotlight. What if I do something embarrassing? What if I mess up? What if I can't maintain that success? So we have all these internal stories going on, and it has become so familiar that it doesn't even feel like a story anymore. It feels like, oh, this is just how life is. I'm just unlucky. Money just doesn't work out for me. So when we really start to look at these stories and really ask ourselves, why is success so scary? What is the worst thing that could happen when I'm seen? We really start to look at the parts of us that we're self-protecting.
Okay. Now, Rozanna, you're doing this work. What made you come to that stage where you're now doing this work? What happened in your life earlier on that you went through?
Oh boy.
That I think we need to hear about that, because you're doing this, but obviously
Yeah.
do something. And I've known from speaking to my guests and I myself, what we're doing now is something that happened to us in the past that brought us here. So what happened to you in the past?
Oh God. So when I was in school, I was pretty much bullied. And it went on. It was more so, verbal and emotional, mental, not necessarily physical, not that often, at least, maybe once or twice. But apart from that, when I experienced being bullied a lot, it made me feel small in every single way. It made me feel insecure about my personality, about the way that I speak, about the way that I laugh, about my quirks, about my physical appearance as well. And growing up as well, we know in the early 2000s, there was a lot of expectation on what it means to be pretty, where you have to be like sorry, we had to be stick thin is what I meant to say. And I always found myself comparing myself to other girls from such a young age, feeling like I'm not enough, feeling like I'm the fat kid, feeling like, I'm still not there yet. This is why people don't like me. This is why guys don't like me. And I continue to carry these stories, and I continue to surround myself with people who do not appreciate me, who talk me down, who disrespect me. And then at one point, I think it was like 5 years in, 5 years later, towards like the end of high school, where I was like, you know what, I would much rather be alone than ever be mistreated again. And I spent the remainder of that final school year literally alone, literally sitting every single day on a bench alone. And people would ask me to sit with them just because they felt bad. And then, after I left school and I traveled for college, it was my first time living alone, like truly. And that's when I started like facing all of the things that I needed to face, because there were no more distractions. There wasn't family that I was around. There was no friends from school every day. It was just, me in the room and me heading to college, and obviously, still conversing with people, but college life is not the same as school. And, all of the insecurities about my body kept coming up again and again and again, that, at one point I had to speak to a therapist because I was developing an unhealthy relationship with food as well, and with my body. And I just woke up one day and I noticed like I'm not really allowing myself to fully live, because I'm always like worried about how I'm going to look, going to sleep, hoping that I wake up somehow in a different body. And just like really like looking on these parts of me, and through therapy, uncovering how all this self-talk was not even my own voice. It was things that were said to me that I took on and started saying it to myself, started repeating it to myself. So I realized that is not even my own voice to begin with. And every single time I would have one of these doubts or insecurities about myself, I would immediately remember, oh, that's not even my thought. These aren't even my thoughts. So I would slowly like distance myself a little bit, that this was given to me. It's not mine, actually. It's not my true voice. And slowly doing that, I was starting to disconnect from that. And then I remember also one day before I was leaving my place, I was like, you know what? I'm not getting out of this door until I feel so freaking confident. I am deciding that the moment I'm out of this door, I am the most confident version of myself. I did that. And from that day, every single day, I make sure that I don't walk out of the house unless I feel confident. Of course, I have days. Of course, I have low moments. But I learned to start almost like deciding that this is the day that I choose to be this. This is the day that I choose to feel this way about myself. And through changing my inner dialogue, through changing my self-talk, I noticed that I changed my personality, because I noticed like this is not a way that I would ever speak to a friend. I would never tell a friend, you're ugly, you're not good enough. It's literally bullying, right? So why would I say that to myself? And so I was like, I'm going to start to be my own best friend. And of course, then I found resources, and I found law of attraction, and then eventually Neville Goddard, law of assumption, and all of that. And I was like, okay, this makes sense why when this happened, I felt this way, because I was making me about me. Or these are patterns that were happening my entire life because I was identifying as XYZ, and I identified as that because I experienced in the past A, B, and C. And I, started drawing the correlation and reading a lot of books, and it really changed who I am as a person. It's like, now I'm the person who's like, don't try me.
You became bad.
You don't want to try me.
But tell me, you went through this in your early part at school. What was it like at home in your childhood? Because sometimes it starts from in the home, where you're not being encouraged. You're not, you're not being encouraged to be the best version of yourself, because it can start from home. What was it like at home? Were you, I won't say talked down to, but were you not encouraged to be strong, to be, anything you can be?
I didn't really share what I was going through in school with my family, to be honest. It was something I just dealt with alone, and they were usually working and they were busy, so there wasn't that many conversation about what was going on. So it mostly felt like I was dealing with it alone.
But at home, were you always you were loved? Everything was fine there.
I would say there were ups and downs.
Yeah, but like everyone. But I always find that if you're if you're if you're not supported in a way that you want to in your home with your family, it overspills when you go to school as well. Then you get this bullying, and of course, how can you go back and do that in some cases, because you may be talked down to at home that you are this when you are some, and I was just wondering if there were things going on there as well.
I mean, yeah, there were a couple of things that were going on at that time. Yeah, I kind of always had a hard time talking about that online, but I will say it definitely has a link with
That's
schools
fine.
and with definitely had a link with me not standing up for myself as much.
Yeah. I don't need you to really go into it if you're not comfortable talking about it, simply because you're not the only one. This goes on so much, and this is what I find when I'm speaking to my lovely guests like yourself. It always starts way back from home.
Oh yeah,
not supported the way you should be. Of course, then you go to school and you're vulnerable, and then these happen, and then you can't go back and talk about it at home because you're talked down at home. So you're sandwiched, and so it starts layers upon layers upon layers, and it's not just from school, also from home. And this is what, as we get into being a young adult, and we're working, and then we decide we want to do something else, and we really want to stand up and branch out, but then because of what's happened in the past, that's when you've got to now go back in and start finding out, why can't you achieve what you want? Because when you that I want to do this and I want to do that, because you want to be something. But then there's all these different layers, as you said, that are there, that you now have to start, it's like an onion, peeling them away, so that actually be the person you meant to be. And you left school, went on to college, and it's through this that you had to face, and you were strong enough to face it. Sometimes it takes longer. You did it young, so well done.
Thank you. I mean, I always tell my clients, this is really a process of reparenting yourself.
Yes.
You literally have to be the parent that you either always wanted, had, or never had, but you have to reparent yourself. It's what it is.
And you've got to face it. And you've got to be strong enough not only to face it, to say, I want to do better, and so I have to do this. And sometimes you do it, you go to books and you go to seminars and you go, and sometimes there's nobody actually you can talk to encourage you. Was this your case? Did you have people around you that may have said, Attia, or Rozanna, I understand, yes, I'll support you this way? Or did you do it solely through books and watching other videos and doing things on your own?
Well, for the most part, it was alone. And then eventually, with mentorship and finding good, real friends, that's when I started having that support. But it definitely started with me on my own, which, that's a whole different experience as well. You having to face all of that and stand on your feet and do all the things that you have to do. That's what I always speak about as well with my clients. It takes a level of emotional intelligence to build so you can continue to hold space for yourself, other people, and carry on with your day-to-day responsibilities without bringing in your trauma, without bringing in your baggage, right? Because that's why people bring that baggage to their friendships and relationships, and they don't last. You have to be able to have that emotional capacity. And it's that nervous system work is why it's so crucial.
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right. You have to have the capacity because, as you're right, you start a relationship and you've got all this baggage of who you are not really, and yet inside you want to be treated in a way you're not getting that, and it's like and things don't work out, and it is a process. It is such a hard process, but it is having the strength to say, I am capable.
Yeah.
I can do it and I will do it.
Yeah. And it's really a choice as well, because like this is hard, but also staying where you are is really hard too. So it's like, which hard is worth it? You know, pick the one that is worth it. So I think that's what I continue to go back to on time when I'm like, I just don't want us to do this anymore. I just don't want to keep like repeating like mindset work. And it's like, as long as you're here, as long as you're alive, you're always going to do this work. I think when we stop looking for a finish line is when we set ourselves free. Because then
Yes.
it's like, you stop looking for like, when will this be over? It's like, no, this is just continuous. It's like you're going from one pit stop to the other, one pit stop to the other. And it's like the rest is like the road trip. And you really got to play on your music with your road trip, take pictures and chill and all that. But then you're going to get to the destination. And then that destination is going to last a few seconds. You're just going to grab your snacks, grab some water, you know, and then to the next pit stop, right? So that's really the thing that set me free, so to speak, from the healing loop.
And I like what you say. It's that when you stop looking at the end of wanting to find the end, that's when you are free, because it's a continual process. It's nothing that you can do overnight, and it is a continual thing of looking at yourself, being aware, praying and asking for that guidance and that strength to keep on and to keep facing things and to be strong enough to see it and change. Because lots of us can see things in ourselves, but we're sometimes not strong enough to make the changes. So when we do make the changes, pat yourself on the back, because it's not easy.
Sorry. Yep.
Stage, you know, you get to that stage and you've overcome that. That's fine. There's another, and there's another, and it depends on you how much effort you put in to do the work, and it depends on your life as well, but as long as you keep going. So Rozanna, you had to go through this at college, university, and then you left, and then what did you do after university, and how did that next stage happen?
Well, COVID started. COVID started in my very last semester. And I was on a visa and I was applying for jobs and all that. So it was like really hard. And then I went back to Sweden. You know, I spent quite a lot of time, you know, looking for jobs. But it was like COVID. Spent quite a long time actually. And then eventually I decided to, you know, start this business, start doing things my way. And I wanted to teach something that is embodied and that I'm passionate about and that I'm good at. I was like, okay, these three: embodied, passionate about, and forgot what was the last thing I said. Yeah, good at. So that's when I was like, okay, so let me start this business. And then, oh boy, starting a business is such a spiritual journey. You're going to have to look at all of the imposter syndrome that shows up, your integrity when it comes to sales and money, the type of clients that you call in, and what that is reflecting within you. You know, it's like, oh my God, it's a journey. So I continued with every level of, like, you know, brand up level. It was really an up level in my identity, and using that internal shift to like reflect it onto my brand, reflect the new insights, even like the aesthetics for me is a reflection of, you know, how we feel on the inside, or the transformation that I desire. So I continue to do that. And it's interesting to do this all these years, because people watch you as you grow and change. Yes. So it's literally documented without even trying to document it. Like, people just see the difference in how you speak and how you show up and how you look in your energy. And yeah, that was a long answer to your question, but yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Oh, that's fun, because it is knowing about your journey. It is knowing about what you did to get to where you are today, to understand, and what you did to overcome. And I say to overcome because again, it is stage by stage. And therefore, when you're working with people and having to encourage them, you know what it's like, because it's not a question that you've been through it, you're going through it, and you understand, you know, the effort it takes, and you've had to come up, face up. I'm going through it, and all of us are doing that spiritual journey. It's nothing that you can do overnight. And you're constantly questioning. You're constantly questioning why this and how this and is it this and doing that, and because it has to make sense. And it's in that sense that you do change. And this is why you are saying that it's not just NDEs, when, as I said, transcending and coming back, but life, when you're actually faced with your own, I say, foibles, I suppose, or your own not obstacles, your own challenges to do what you want and to be the way you want. It is, as you said, about unlearning and relearning. And when you unlearn, it is about killing off. It is about letting go. It is about putting down those things that are not you. And it's hard. And that in itself is a death of the old you, but it's a process.
Yeah, and it will take standing up to yourself again and again, standing on business. This is why I always tell my clients, like, I'm going to support you, but there's going to be a bit of tough love here. And sometimes you're going to have to be pushed a little bit until that discomfort, until you move past the discomfort, so that then the other side is comfortable enough for you to be in long term.
Yeah. And I like when you said it's tough love, because we sometimes we see ourselves in one way and we try to do that, but somebody on the outside looking in can see something else that needs to be. And it's like, we can't see the woods for the trees. And so you need that other person who's standing outside who can see more clearly. And the truth is sometimes hard and can be bitter. But when you have that confidence, knowing that somebody loves you or cares to help you, you have to take that bitter pill.
Absolutely. And really, it is a tough pill to swallow, but it's the pill that you need to swallow. You know, it's like that medication that tastes horrible, but it's like, what other option you have? And it doesn't have to always suck, but sometimes when it's something that has a lot of emotional charge and it has been part of your identity for so long, it can feel like stripping parts of yourself. It can feel like shedding skin. And when you do that, it's kind of like, I always tell my clients, I want you to think of it as like, imagine unlearning all of your traditions, your culture, your family, your extended family members, and you're getting a whole new other background. Yeah. That's how it can feel, how unfamiliar and scary it can feel. So it's really being a risk taker, that it's going to be diving in with both feet, trust fall game, you know, trusting me, I got me, and I'm going to push through it no matter what. Because really, like, the worst case scenario is that you move past it and get what you want. It's just the part in between that is the scariest.
You're right, because not only that, as you push through and as you change, with change also comes different wants, needs, and desires. And those wants, needs, and desires and comfort sometimes cause you to let go of people around you that no longer serve the person you are and the identity that you are now and the life that you want to live and you want to be encouraged to live. And that also can be very hard. And that also includes family. Sometimes having let go, step back, distance, because what no longer enhances the type of life you want. You stand, you let it go, and it's all part of it. And we have to let go of titles and names and just see things for what they are. Forget about the title. Forget about this is a book, this is just what is it? Is this good? Does this serve you? Is it right? If it doesn't, let go.
Yeah. And what is so interesting that I tend to see again and again is like when you change from the inside, one of two things happen. A, either you find yourself, okay, so I'm not interested in that crowd anymore, or B, you see a new version of people show up, them ascending, them matching up. And we've all had this experience where it's like when you're healing, it's like, oh shit, I'm sorry for my language. It's like everyone is healing. And when you are, I don't know, going through a heartbreak, everyone's going through a heartbreak. It's like it's a collective experience.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because it's like, we're all coming from one consciousness. It's kind of like being a computer room. We're all like plugged into the same router, but we're all on our own laptops.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see that, people either, you see the new versions of them or you're like, bye, see ya.
I like the way you brought that in, because it's true, because there are times when, as you're going through that metamorphosis, as you're changing, as you say, and as I say, you let things go, but sometimes the people around you find yourself with the similar people around you are also going through changes, and that can be a support as well. Because they're going through, you will understand how they're feeling. You're going through, they will understand you, and you can all share notes and see and encourage. So it's about being aware, and the universe, the energy, the way it works is really remarkable. It's really interesting.
It's crazy, yeah.
So here you are, going through this, gone through this, still going through this, now starting up your own business, helping people to do this and to recognize these kinds of things. What is the thing that you find when you're working with people that is one of the things that most stands out in what needs to be changed? Is there a pattern? Is there a thing nowadays where you find a lot of people need to do this, or they're having to let go of that? Is there something that you can see?
I always tell my clients, you are the common denominator in every area of your life. So as much as we want to be upset at circumstances, we can no longer point fingers, not on anybody and not on ourselves. It's just responsibility for, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I've been showing up, and this is what I'm going to change. And that part is the hardest part. Accepting full responsibility, full ownership, full accountability is the hardest thing, but you become a completely different person. Like it's a 180 shift, literally in hours and days and weeks, the moment you accept full ownership. It's like you step into a different level of power. And that's when your emotional capacity, your feelings, your thoughts, your inner experience is no longer dependent on the external reality. Sure, sometimes we will get upset at certain things that happen in the external reality, but we're not codependent, where when it's up, we're up, when it's down, we're down.
Yeah. And
that's one of the main things that I work with my clients.
And that is scary when they, and I notice this with people, when you're in and around people on a bus, on a train, just sitting with company, whatever, and you're listening, especially when people have problems. And I get kind of, it's down to you. You've attracted it. and they don't like that. They really don't like, woe is me. They did this, she did that, he did this, I'm doing this. And I sit and listen, I think, it's down to you. Yeah. You encourage it. It's down to you. Because if you didn't encourage it, it's like a bully. Bullies know who they can bully. And bullies will bully people who allow them to bully. But you see, when bullies come up to somebody that says no and they stand tall, the bullies turn away and walk the other way, and they don't come there. It's because you're not allowing it, and they know you're not putting up with it. And they know you will stand up and face them, and they move.
Yeah, that is a conversation people are not ready for.
whatever it is. And this is why, and at the beginning of the program, I said we're spiritual beings with a physical body and have human experience. We are an extension of the Creator.
And yes, accountability exists. Yes, people should be.
How powerful we are.
Yeah, and it's not black and white. I think people think that it means, okay, so if you want to like attract changes in your life, that you have to be a doormat and never say anything. No. Accountability exists. And what they do in that moment is on them, but how you carry it, live with it, and make it mean something about yourself and your circumstances is up to you, is your responsibility.
Okay. Yeah. You can't stop you can't stop the other person from doing what they're doing, but how they treat you and how you handle the situation is down to you. Again, if the bully comes, you stand up and you say no, and you stand up and you fight for their rights. Well, they're a bully. They will have to handle what? But the fact that you've taken power of yourself and saying no, and I'm not allowing this, you've taken control of your life.
Yep. And that
it's every level. It's in every level.
That change in your reactions is when the chain of events change. Yeah. The moment you're like, I'm done doing this, or I'm done with this pattern, I'm done with this behavior, or the moment you respond differently to circumstances, that's when literally reality collapses, so to speak. Yeah. You know, if you have ever had experiences and you were like, I'm done with this, all of a sudden everybody's treating you differently. All of a sudden the kind of opportunities are different. All of a sudden the way that you are setting your standards and boundaries are completely different. Yeah. It's that 180 shift. So I always tell my clients, like, changing your reactions is the number one priority to changing self.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, as much as we say that, it can be very difficult because it's fear-based. It's fear that something somewhere won't go right, and you fear that. And I can understand that because I carry that myself, and I have to continually work on that myself from different levels. Yeah. In some ways you can be fearless, but in other ways you could be like a puppy, you know. And it's like, how do you get this fearlessness over this to this section? And it's not always easy, but it's something you have to face and realize it's down to you.
Yeah.
So Rozanna, you're working with your clients, you're doing all this wonderful work, and as you say, it is a death. Each layer we have to say, we don't need you anymore, go. We don't need you anymore, go. And you've working with clients and doing this very successfully. Where do you see the next stage you're taking this to? Have you written any books? Are you doing any courses? How do you work? Let us know.
I just released a book actually called Quantum Queen, which is about how to master identity shifting and exit the healing loop. So as much as we, have compassion for what we experienced, we don't want to continue to stay attached to the past by continuing to enable I'm a survivor XYZ. And I know that's a difficult thing to say.
Yeah.
But I definitely see that there is a lot of attachment to trauma work, a lot of attachment to the past experiences when it's about really being able to look back, not making mean anything about you, make peace with that, and be able to move forward with the identity that you're choosing. So in my book, I cover at the end of each chapter as well an activity that they can implement to help them start practicing the new identity. And I also have a mastermind ongoing right now called Quantum Queen, which is all about becoming what I call the Quantum Queen archetype, which is the woman who has it all in all areas of your life. And it's all focused on really tapping into the frequency of the woman who can hold it all, the nervous system work that is required, the frequency, you being the icon of your reality, how to master the codes of certainty as your baseline. So I do have the mastermind, I have my book, and then I have some mini courses on the side as well as a starter for people. And I'm pretty much posting almost daily on socials as well. So that's my free content.
Let me just stop you there before you go on, because I suppose I should have asked this earlier on, because you're constantly talking about quantum, the quantum queen, the quantum shift, the quantum identity. Just briefly, when you say quantum, what do you mean for the viewers who are listening?
So I'm speaking about the quantum field. So we know there's an aspect of physics called the quantum physics, which is all about how energy behaves and how Earth operates. And in the quantum, there's like infinite versions of ourselves, infinite versions of realities that you get to access depending on who you are embodying, who you're being. And so I say quantum because we're not doing life through logic. We deal with the logic when we have to. But the stories that we tell and where we're choosing to go and the goals that we're creating for ourselves are not circumstance-based. They are desire-based. They are illogical. They're exactly what we want. They're the kind of goals that don't make sense. So an example, I do not have 10K followers, yet I'm invited to speak on stage in Philadelphia in April. I do not follow the quote unquote rules that are required for you to be seen as a big deal, so to speak. But because I carry that identity, I decided, like, you know what, the Quantum Queen movement is a big deal. And I made my entire brand around that. And the way that I speak to myself, that of course I attracted that opportunity, which was on my Pinterest board. And it's really about being illogical about your goals, going into the infinite possibilities and selecting the reality of your choice and then making your way there from where you are now.
Okay, I like the way you say just now that it's almost asking for the impossible. It's asking for the ridiculous. And this is what has been said, and I've heard it time and time again, is that we put barriers. We put up barriers. We tend to ask for things which we think we're capable of achieving. But yet the things that we want are so out there that we think we can't. There's a barrier.
Yep.
And so we only ask for what we think we're capable of achieving, what we can see. And this is what we have to do. We have to understand that we are going into the quantum field of which we are part of, because it's energy.
Yeah.
And remembering, I keep on saying, we're spiritual being, we're the extension of the creator. We're powerful. Therefore, we can have anything, literally anything. But you've got to understand that. You've got to believe that. And when you do, you vibrate that, and then you can attract that. So it is not asking from fear, oh, I just want this, but sitting back and saying, what if there were no barriers? If you had millions of pounds and you could do anything, now, what would you want to be? You've literally got to say that to yourself. Sit back and say, without any barriers, without any restrictions, what is it I really want? And when you start to think in that way, you will generally find what you're asking for is not here, it's there.
Yeah, I remember
what you're supposed to ask for.
I remember I saw a prompt that I journaled on before, which is, if fear of rejection didn't exist, what would you do? Who would you be? And that, to me, that changed literally who I am. Because if I'm not afraid of rejection, I know the way that I would speak about myself, speak about work. I know what desires I would claim loudly and proudly. I know that would require a new, bolder version of myself, a lot of self-trust, a lot of confidence. And I know as well, I'm a believer of God. I would believe that I'm asking for from the limitless. I can ask for whatever I want. So it would create that relationship where I know that I can ask for anything. I wouldn't feel timid and shy and, oh, no, I shouldn't be asking. I know that I would be the boldest version of myself. I would have that belief in God. I would stand strong in my desires, and I would see the circumstances as like, this is like season 2. It's not season 5. So that kind of thing. So it really activates a new self and the way you respond to things.
Yeah. Yes. And I like what you said. Ask, what is it you would be? What, limitless. And it is limitless. There are no boundaries. You shoot something into the sky, what are you going to hit? It just keeps on going on and on and on and on. It's limitless, and that's who we are. We are part of that quantum field, and we are capable of limitlessness. And it is because of what we came into this world and what we've been taught from childhood through our family, our parents, society, school, the government, all the rest now shape us to be from out here to just in here and put us in boxes to be this or that or just this or just that. When actually we are this and we can be many things and do it well because we have the capability. But we were just told and it was shut down to restrict us. So Rozanna, I say Rozanna, yes, Rozanna. You've written these books. You're doing so much, and you said you're going to talk in front of people in April. How many?
I don't know yet. It's not my event, and the tickets are still being sold, so I don't know yet. But it's my first time I'm going to be speaking on stage in front of an audience, so that requires a different version of myself.
Yeah,
which I'm practicing now, and I'm like, I literally brought a karaoke mic so I can practice. And right after this, I'm gonna take my speech and go outdoors so that I can practice speaking in front of people, even if it will be a little bit low. But it's like I'm going to expose myself to that version of myself.
Do you get nervous when you're speaking in front of many people?
I decided the day I got the speaking gig to cancel that expectation. Even like I'm not going to even expect from myself to worry about speaking in front of people. Instead, I'm going to decide like I'm going to kill the speech. It's going to be incredible. Period.
So, Rozanna, you've written a book. Can you tell us once more the name of the book, please?
Sure. It's called Quantum Queen. I have it right here, actually.
Have you hold it up? Let us all see. Oh, very
like I think the thing is blurred. Let me turn this back on. Yeah. So it's called.
Yes, Quantum Queen.
Yes.
Oh, very snazzy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, red is my favorite. So I was like, we're gonna do everything red.
Okay, powerful. So you've written a book. You've got different courses coming out. So how can people contact you if they want to get in touch and speak more, or even see if you can work with them? How can they contact you?
My main platform is Instagram, so it's at rosanna.manifests_LLC, or my email, rosanna@rosannamanifests.com.
Okay, I will put that in the write-up at the bottom. So for all those who heard, and yes, it is, as we travel this journey of this life, it is about unlearning and relearning, letting go. And it's not an easy thing, but the first stage is to notice that what you want and who you are needs to change, and you've got to be willing to do that and go through the process. And it's not something it happens overnight. It's stage by stage, like an onion, but each stage you go is a better version of yourself. And please put down the barriers. Don't limit yourself. Really sit down, as Rozanna and I have said, and sit back and say, what is it you really want? If money was no object, if there were no obstacles in your way, what is it that you want? What is it you would like to be? And when you see it from that perspective, you'll be surprised what you're saying to yourself. And that's really how we're supposed to be living our life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Rozanna, before I say thank you and goodbye, can you leave us with a few golden nuggets of advice?
Oh, sure. Okay, so let me think of one. So I have started since last year treating this journey as, like a kid in a playground. We're just playing dress up. We're choosing different identities, different costumes to wear every single day. We can choose the costume of I'm not good enough or I'm good enough. We can choose the costume of the timid, shy coach or the big deal. And when we can start to see it as playing and as jumping into different characters, or you can even be for 10 minutes, like I'm like Princess Belle right now. And how does she think? How does she want to dress? How does she want to speak? You train yourself to sort of method act and become somebody else. You put yourself in the brain and the body of that person, and noticing throughout the day how your body responds to circumstances will give you a lot of data on what are your biggest triggers, and then asking yourself, what am I making it mean about myself, that is going to make the shift. When you look at how you're making it mean something about you, the focus stops being about how do I change circumstances, and it starts to be how do I change within. Because when we change within, the circumstances shift. It's like a mirror. When you hold up a mirror, you don't place the lipstick on the mirror, you place the lipstick on your lips, and then you see it reflected back. The same thing applies here in reality. So it's continuing to bring it back to self, back to self, back to self. And then changing how that feels in the body. Once that's neutralized, bring in what story am I choosing to tell and stick to today. It's sticking to that story. Like your life depends on it. It's the mental diet. If you have decided to do keto, you cannot have carbs and sugar just because you're bored this hour. If you decided to go keto, there are no carbs and sugar until you're done with the diet. And if you decide to do this as a lifestyle, then it's a lifestyle and forever. And it might feel the hardest the first maybe 2 weeks, but it's worth pushing through. That's when you start to collapse old self. It's when it's getting harder at the beginning, when you're making changes and it feels harder, it's because you're making changes that are ready to go. It's because that reality and that version are ready to collapse. So it's about really like a lot of TLC, tender love care, regulate yourself through it and move forward. Regulating forward, not regulating to dwell on what has happened, dwelling on your feelings. It's okay that I feel this, and it's okay to move forward. So yeah.
It's a lot she's given us, That's a lot of golden nuggets there. Rose, thank you so much indeed. And to all those who've joined us today, I don't want to say I hope, I know you've got so much out of just listening, because this is about life. This is not something woo-woo out there. This is about us. And it doesn't matter what your background is. When you want to achieve something and go forward and you're not doing it, something inside is stopping you, because we are limitless beings and we're not vibrating at that level that we're locking into what our real desires want. So therefore something has to change. So remember, you've got to face yourself, got to be honest and be truthful. Okay, so thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Rozanna, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye for now. Bye.